Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I am 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍, and this is the Crypto and Cognac podcast show, as always powered by our friends at 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍. And this evening, as always, I will be having some cognac. I'm having some Martell VSOP Blue Swift. Yeah, that's what we're going to do this evening. Check, check, check. What's up, my Crypto Caribbean people? Welcome to episode 15, season 4 of the Crypto and Cognac podcast show. As always, I am here. It's your boy 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍, checking in, having myself some Martell Blue Swift VSOP. I'm also surrounded by some of my other very much favorite brands by the 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐕𝐄𝐑𝐒𝐓𝐈𝐎𝐍 team. We have some 𝐂𝐎𝐍𝐳 Cuervo tequila in case you want to get kind of loco. Then we have some Chivas Regal blended scotch, and we have some Malibu Caribbean rum. So in case you're planning a party, you're planning a line, they have something for everybody in your team, right? They also have Absolute Vodka, Jameson, Irish whiskey. What else? They got champagne, right? So yeah, check them out. GH Mom, all of your favorite brands, all of the top global brands, they have them. And of course, they keep me well lubricated, well hydrated to keep bringing you guys the good news according to Satoshi. And this evening, we're going to be talking about the bull run. Is it back? Are we back to the bull? Is it that time again? Is it up always? Is it to the moon? Is it pump our bags? But before we go into that, as always, let me add another block to my drink. Always the ice rule. Nothing that I share here tonight, tomorrow night, or any night that has passed, or any night to come, shall not be misconstrued as being financial advice. It is all about information, conversation, and education. You share a little bit with me, I share a little bit with you. We all leave and go do our own research. Yes, I'm talking to you, right? And we make our own decisions based on our own financial goals, based on our time horizons, based on our risk profiles, right? Because this is not a one-size-fits-all space. No investment space is a one-size-fits-all space. Do your own research. Whether you're investing in, I don't know, chickens, or you're investing in crypto, make sure you do your own research, right? No matter who tells you, no matter what your friends tell you, what your family member tell you, what 𝐿luminati tells you, there's no sex in the champagne room. And crypto is not for everyone, right? Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. This is a high-risk environment, guys, right? So I feel like that's all the housekeeping. Do you have a drink? Did you pour yourself a drink? What kind of Caribbean person you are? And if you're here, you're Caribbean. I don't care where in the world you are. You could be in Africa. Big up to my Nigerian crew. You could be in Australia. Big up to the Australian crew. You could be in Singapore. Big up to everyone all around the world. If you are here, You are one of us. You're a Caribbean person, and we don't lime dry mouth, right? So you have to have a drink as we get together and we talk about this crypto thing. So why are we even talking about the bull run? Well, what we saw recently is that the market took off, right? So after a little false start, right, with people talking about, with some information coming out about a potential approval of the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF, markets turned up and then turned all the way back down. Right? Cointelegraph had to come out, make an apology, claiming that an intern got some information from somewhere. He posted about it on their Twitter. Crypto Twitter took it, ran with it. Prices took off. Soon after we found out that it wasn't true, prices came all the way back down. But a few days after that, we saw the market take off again, right? And it's because of a few things, right? So we saw the ticker for the Grayscale spot ETF got listed, even though the ETF wasn't approved. IBTC was listed, so people got excited. I think shortly after that, I think that was around the 15th. Shortly after that, we had our good friend, Mr. Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, one of the world leading investment companies, Mr. Larry Fink. He was in an interview and said that a lot of sophisticated investors see Bitcoin as a flight to safety, given the geopolitical environment, given what was happening in the Middle East with the conflicts, given what's happening in Europe with the Ukraine-Russia conflict, given what's happening in Africa, and given some of the instabilities we've seen recently in the stock market. He thought that, and he uttered the fact that he considers Bitcoin, and a lot of sophisticated investors like himself consider Bitcoin a flight to safety. I think that was around the 16th or maybe the evening of the 15th. I think it aired on the 16th. But since then, the market has taken off. And why necessarily? Obviously, Larry Fink, he is the leader of BlackRock. They control a huge bag of funds, being one of the largest investment firms, not their own funds, but they do a lot of investing for a lot of big people in the space, over $10 trillion of assets under management. So clearly that got people's juices flowing, and the excitement led to the market taking off, right? And I'm gonna want to just take a little look at what we saw happen as it relates to the market, right? So we are somewhere around $34,000, maybe $34,200 right now as of today. Now, year on year, we are seeing that Bitcoin is up 65% year on year. We see cast. So this is Crypto Bubbles, I think is Blockchain Bubbles, I think is the platform. So they basically show the ups and downs of the market, the significant movers in a very pictorial representation. Took some information from them. So year on year, we're seeing Bitcoin up 65%, right? But even more than that, in the last month, we are seeing a lot of green candles in the space, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about some of the altcoins as well, some of the top performing altcoins. As a reminder, this is not me advising you to go invest in any of these tokens, right? I'm just showing you what the data says in terms of how these tokens have performed in the last month, right? We don't know what they're going to do tomorrow. They might pull back after all this heavy lifting they've done in the last month. But we see tokens like Pepe, the meme coin, 91% month over month, Gala 38%, Bitcoin 30% month over month. What other interesting ones we see there? PLS, Pulse Chain, 86%, Hex, 187%, AVAX and Link, 20% and 45% respectively, and tokens like Matic, Polygon's token, doing upwards of 20%. But in the last month, as you can see from this chart, the market has been in a significant green period, right? And because of that, a lot of people are very excited. A lot of people are very enthused. A lot of people are suggesting that we might be back, right? Is that what I think? I'll save my opinion for a little bit later on, right? In the last week, we're seeing projects like Hex doing 132%, Pepe against doing over 100%. What does these percentages mean? This means that if you would have invested $1, $100 at the beginning of this period, so last week this time, you would be up, if you invested in Pepe, 114%. So we're talking about last week you had $100. This week you're up 114%. So you've earned $114 in addition to your $100. So you are looking at sitting on $214. Now that's if you had invested at that exact time last week and held until now, right? This is not financial advice. Me not tell you for don't jump in a new meme coin, right? But just to give you an idea of what the market has been doing and how it has been performing for the last week, right? I've also looked at the one-day chart. As we come down more granularly, we are seeing a shift in the sentiment. We are seeing that the numbers starting to kind of roll back, and this might be signs of just a general pullback, or it could be something more significant, right? So this is why the crypto market is such a tricky space and such a risky space to be in, because we have very, very aggressive moves in the market that can earn you a lot of money, but can also lose you a lot of money. So somebody who would have seen the previous chart, saw Pepe, saw Matic, saw Bitcoin, and think, yeah, everything looking good. Bitcoin up 18%, Pepe up 114%, or whatever it was yesterday, and decided I'm going to jump in yesterday. They might now find themselves down because Bitcoin is down 1.7% day on day, right? So again, like we always say, time in the market is always a better strategy than timing the market. So sometimes it's just a DCA, and look to place investment strategies that are more long term instead of trying to go big and make it all in one go or lose it all in one go. And then on the hour chart, we're moving back to something a little bit more positive. So Pepe just under 10%. Gala, I know I've been saying Pepe a lot, but it's just because they're the top performer. It is in no way me giving advocacy to Pepe. I do not hold any Pepe in my portfolio. I'm not deal up in that, right? The only time I might touch those things is to leverage trade. To be honest, after seeing what Pepe has done recently in terms of their big pump, the only way I would play this is I might look to put a little short position, a little gamble, because that's basically what it is, especially if you're trading without any knowledge, any education around trading, any experience trading. You are basically gambling. Don't gamble with money that you can't afford to lose, right? So that is what basically what the markets have looked like over the last, as I said, year on year, month on month. But since around the 15th, 16th of October, obviously, there are a lot of things happening in the global environment, the global financial environment. Of course, we still continue to wait for confirmation and verification that a spot ETF is going to be approved sometime soon. A lot of people are talking about this spot ETF and whether or not this is going to be the catalyst for the new bull market, whether or not the halving, which is coming up in a few months next year, early next year, April, May, whether that is going to be impacted by this ETF, whether one is going to negate the other, as the case may be, depending on when the ETF gets approved. If an ETF is approved by December this year, do we see a continued pump into the halving, or does the usual activity, does the usual demand that the halving brings on, does that come sooner as a means of responding to the ETF? So I mean, all of those things are up in the air. None of us have a crystal ball unless you happen to be Elias Maddox. For those who know, you know. But before we go any further, we want to touch on just another thing that we are seeing happening. For years now, we've been talking about a few words we keep hearing coming up and up again. The flippening, where some people speculate that ETH is eventually going to flip Bitcoin and become the cryptocurrency with the largest market cap, as well as the decoupling, which is that Bitcoin, specifically the crypto market by extension, is eventually going to decouple from the stock market, and we're going to see inverse movement or even totally unrelated movements between the stock market and the crypto market. And we are seeing a bit of that right now. Is that just as a result of the fact that the stock market had a bit of a pump in the previous weeks, previous months, and now it's having a bit of a pullback? It's having a bit of a correction. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is having its moment because of the spot ETF, or is that a more significant and more permanent relationship change between the stock market? Is our cryptocurrencies now perceived as a risk on asset? Are they still considered or a risk off asset as compared to stocks? Are people losing faith in the stock market with everything that we are seeing happening in the geopolitical environment? A lot of people speculate that we are in for a significant stock market correction. Are we seeing money, institutional investment money, moving from the stock market and finding themselves in Bitcoin, as Larry was talking about? Has Bitcoin become truly a flight to safety? I think we definitely have to watch and see. We're gonna see, as whether or not that speculation comes to pass in terms of the stock market. But in addition to that, we have a lot of things that are happening at the same time. A lot of people who may be perceived as conspiracy theorists, some believe that this Bitcoin pump has been fabricated as a means of distracting us from what is a more sinister plot, because with everything that has happened since the 16th, 15th, we know what happened on the 7th of October in the Middle East with the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Some people believe that this pump is a means to distract us, while people like Senator Elizabeth Warren use the current situation in the Middle East as a means to justify harsher crackdowns on the crypto industry. We've already seen her referencing an article by the Wall Street Journal written by Ian Talway, or however you pronounce his name, I really don't care about he. But yes, where he referenced an elliptic report that basically he said that elliptic stated that Hamas had been raising an irregular amount of funds leading up to their heinous terrorist attack on Israel, and using that as a means to justify cracking down on crypto as it was being used for terrorism finance. Elliptic, however, came out and said, listen, that is not what our report said. Do not misrepresent our facts. We said nothing about that. And as a matter of fact, our research, our blockchain analytics shows the complete opposite of that. It shows that Hamas has been moving out of crypto, right? But Elizabeth Warren used that Wall Street Journal report as a justification to table a new bill in the Senate to crack down on custodial or self-custody wallets, right? So a lot of people have speculated whether or not this pump has just been a means to distract us while they pursue their nefarious continued attempt to undermine the longevity of the crypto space, the crypto market, to the benefit of their friends in Wall Street. We don't know. It is all left to be seen. But again, Elliptic came out and said, listen, that's not what our report said. And what was interesting is that Mr. Ian Talwe, however you pronounce his name, Dotishwe, he refused to admit that the Wall Street Journal and him, the writer of the article, had fabricated this information. He decided to double down and say, well, even if your report didn't say that, he believes that this is what is happening. So first he referenced their report, and then he's saying, basically that despite what your report say, I know, right? I'm not a crypto man, but I know, right? Because, it serves the narrative that they want to push. So, like I said, a lot of different things happening. Only time will tell. As well as what we are seeing, that the development of Europe's CBDC continues to progress. I see that they moved. I don't want to lie, but they moved the. Let me find it. Right. So the European CBDC, or the ECB's digital euro project, moves to the next phase, which is the preparation phase, and it starts in November and will last for 2 years. It will be used to finalize a digital euro rulebook, select providers to develop a platform, and conduct further testing. The ECB won't take a decision on whether to issue a CBDC until relevant EU legislation has been completed. But that has also been taking place in the background while we get excited about the pump in the last few weeks. So, with all that said, what do I think? Are we at the beginning of the bull run? Personally, I don't think so, right? I could be wrong, and most times I am, but I have not seen a significant shift in sentiment in the wider crypto space. Maybe it's going to take a few weeks, a few months to really have the impact. But as someone who works in the space, I have not seen jobs coming back. I'm not seeing investments coming back. I've not seen projects being excited and spending money on marketing and branding and all these kind of things. I've not seen new major projects start talking about airdrops and those kind of things. Yes, we've seen some price movement because I think there's been a lot of money that has been waiting on the sidelines and stables in fiat currency, but I don't think we've seen any real level of new demand in the market. I think some of the people who maybe took some profits and have been holding on the sideline are now being tempted to start putting themselves back in position. But personally, I don't think that we are out of the woods yet. I think we are at the tail end of the bear market. I think we're going to see some sideways movement. I think we're going to see a lot of activity when the first spot ETF comes into play. I think that, coupled with the halving, is going to be a significant catalyst for the next bull run. I think we're going to see the most amount of adoption as the talking points, as the narratives around crypto changes, as the people who are pro crypto start kind of straddling the traditional space more, like Larry Fink. I think we're going to see the narratives in the media as well change as these banks get involved in the space, and we know they have significant amount of capital to invest. I don't think we're going to see $10 trillion from BlackRock coming into the space, but I think we're going to see maybe 1% of that in the first few months. We're going to see people definitely wet their toe more and more. There are tons of investment companies who've been waiting on the sidelines. Once one ETF gets approved, we're going to see that people now figured out, okay, this is what we need to do, as they get clarity about, okay, how do I get a spot ETF approved? We're going to see more and more of those get approved, more and more opportunities for institutional investors to get involved. But I think that only when we see retail start coming heavy again is when we're going to truly be at the beginning of the bull run. And like I said, not until I see money coming back on the developmental side, on the business side of the space, will I say that we are back into the bull run. Because I think we're going to see that even before we see the real movement in the price action. I think we're going to see, when we start seeing VCs investing money, new projects coming out, projects kind of refueling themselves, more and more crypto jobs being advertised, more and more marketing activities around crypto starting to take place. We're going to start seeing new partnership agreements like we saw in the last bull run with the crypto.com arena and FTX arena and all these different things. When we start seeing a lot more of those type of things is when I would say, yeah, we're in the throes of the bull run. I don't see it happening until maybe this time next year, but safest way, generally is to dollar cost averaging. I mean, don't bet it all, bet the whole farm on one play. Do your own research. But yeah, I mean, I think this is definitely a good sign. We are not going down significantly. Like I said, I thought since last year, November, the bottom was in at 15,000 after the FTX fallout. I definitely think the bottom is in. So these might be the last opportunities to grab some BTC at these prices. We might touch, I think, 28K again before we take off. But I definitely think the bottom of the bear market is in, but we're going to see some sideways movement. And with crypto, sideways is not just a flat line. We're going to do like this for a while. So we might be bouncing between that, 40K and 25K price point on BTC for a while before we really see things get crazy and we see new all-time highs across the space from BTC, ETH, and some of the large alts and that kind of thing. So guys, continue to do your own research. You know what I mean? Like, look for the projects, find the things that you are interested in. If you're a gamer, maybe you want to look into gaming. If you're into art and that kind of thing, maybe you want to be looking into NFTs and marketplaces and that kind of thing. If you're in the financial space, you might be wanting to look at DeFi projects and DeFi protocols, into security platforms. You want to just invest in a more strategic way or in a more traditional way. You could wait around for the ETFs, but continue to learn, continue to keep your head down. Now is the time. Now is the time to pay attention. Now is not the time to fall away. Now is the time to pay attention. Now is the time to learn. Now is the time to invest in your own personal education around the space. So yeah, that's me. Guys, as always, it was a pleasure chatting it up. Go grab a drink, head down to Massey supermarket if you're in Trinidad and Tobago, grab yourself a cognac, a Martell cognac, whether the VS or VSOP. Have a drink, sit by your computer, sit by your phone, click on Crypto Caribbean TV, find one of the episodes that interest you, like, share, view, rewatch, get information, take your notebook out, make notes, but continue to learn. As always, I appreciate you tremendously, and adoption is inevitable. Illuminati out. Be blessed, guys.